When you're a solo singer-songwriter, it's a lot of what do I want to say to the world? What is my voice? This is my perspective. And the thing that really opened up for me when we started writing together is you can kind of let go of that somewhat, and it's what makes this a good song? What makes this a good story?
Hello and welcome back to Wyoming Watch from the Wyoming Tribune-Eagle. I'm Noah Zahn, your state government reporter here and host of the podcast. First, if you didn't catch last week's episode, you may have noticed that our podcast, The Perch, is no more, and that's just because we rebranded it as Wyoming Watch, but we'll still be bringing you the same in-depth reporting, sharing authentic conversations every week. Now, let's get into this week's episode. Throughout the summer, the Wyoming Arts Council has helped organize Tunes on the Trail, which is a program bringing local musicians to perform unplugged sets in Wyoming's natural and historic areas. The first performance took place in Lander, and next Friday it'll be coming to our neck of the woods here in Laramie County at Curt Gowdy State Park. This week on Wyoming Watch, our arts and entertainment reporter Taylor Staples spoke with Bonamo, the Cheyenne-based band who will be performing. They're an acoustic trio made up of Kevin Ramler, Joe Evans, and Steve Scott that plays folk, bluegrass, and blues music. Kevin and Joe of Bonamo spoke with Taylor this week about the genesis of their band, their stories from performing across the state, their inspirations, and what things look like for them going forward. Here's that conversation now.
Well, thank you guys for being here. Bonamo is the name of your band, right? Pronouncing that right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Well, just tell me about the origin. So you guys both moved here for work. How did you guys meet? How did the band form? Tell me the origin story, all about it.
Well, yeah, so we all, it turns out, met through our mostly wives. But my old boss, his wife worked with Joe's wife. And so they kind of knew each other, and my boss was like, "Oh, I know this guy who plays banjo. You might be interested in hanging out with him." And so he introduced us. And then Steve, our third guy, his wife also works with Joe. So I guess it all came through Joe's wife, Sarah.
Right.
Is the one who brought us all together.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's a French teacher, and Steve's wife is a French teacher. Steve's our third party who's not here. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So you guys have been making music since 2021. I think I saw based on your
I think
Spotify.
we actually started back in 2020. One of our we have a memorable gig right before the shutdown. Had a weekend of gigs there. And,
Oh, dang.
That's how I remember that. Is
Yeah.
winter
That's right.
2020.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you guys start out with covers, originals?
Some of both. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we had both written songs before we got together. We had
Right.
been songwriters and played individually and with other groups. So we were bringing some of those older songs to this new group, doing covers of the stuff that we all like. And then as we kind of coalesced as a group, we started writing together to
That's
write the songs we
awesome.
do now.
Yeah. The goal was always to be to write our own stuff and to play our own stuff. But
Yeah.
You don't get too many gigs and
Right.
things if you don't play a cover or two.
Well, especially starting in the pandemic, that was rough.
Yeah.
So, kind of, how did you guys navigate after the pandemic? When did you start up again and start writing originals? Yeah.
We had quite a few originals at that point because Bonamo is actually what grew out of a previous band that he and I were in called Odd Dogs.
Oh.
When our bass player from that iteration left, we were trying to find a way forward and invited Steve in and renamed the band. And,
Nice.
and so we'd already had some originals that we brought in from that. We even started recording that summer, like just some YouTube videos that are still on YouTube, I think, with masks on. And,
That's crazy.
all the windows open and all of that. And from there, once things started opening up, I think we were writing a lot of songs during that time out on the back porch. So we were,
We were kind of ready. So then in beginning of 21, was
Yeah.
when we recorded the first couple EPs that we put out. And so put those out, toured around a little bit with those, and then just last year did our first full-length album.
Nice. Okay, sweet. So tell me about some of the songs from those first two albums, kind of what inspires you guys, what is your writing process together? Yeah.
Great.
Great question.
Yeah, those first ones I think were mostly
Disparate.
songs that we wrote separately and then kind of brought together.
Okay.
And some of them predated the band completely. Some of them were, like Joe said, from that previous iteration, and a few of them were written with that particular, the current band. And I think, you know, we write pretty differently,
Right.
but I think in general it's fairly, you know, observing, cataloging life as we
Right.
experience it. I think there's a pretty strong theme of what it is like to live in Wyoming and in the Mountain West today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of also kind of historic kind of context to that. With the new album, we really did take a different approach and started writing together a lot. So at least half the songs on that were written as a group. So we would get around and
Right.
you know, someone might have an idea or maybe some of the chords, but not really much else. And then we would sit and scribble it all down on paper, and everyone would kind of write down their ideas for a while.
And then we take that mess that we had created and give it to Kevin and
Yeah.
send him home his homework, and,
Yeah.
and he would come back with a song.
Yeah,
he's
for
got
sure.
a remarkable talent for
I love
weaving,
that.
weaving those things together. So we all throw a bunch of ideas in and,
Yeah.
and images and yeah, it's been that's been a surprising part of this journey together is
Yeah.
learning to write songs with other people.
Right.
Because it's normally a very solitary affair, and to do it together has been a very much a growing experience and a learning experience, and
Yeah.
enjoyable.
And I was kind of going to ask about that. What are the biggest things you've learned from transitioning from writing on your own to working together as a group? What have the challenges been, your favorite parts, benefits, pros, cons? Yeah.
You know, I think when you're a solo singer-songwriter, it's a lot of what do I want to say to the world? What is my voice? This is my perspective. And the thing that really opened up for me when we started writing together is you can kind of let go of that somewhat, and it's what makes this a good song? What makes this a good story? You know, you're bringing in other people's perspectives, right? Because you inherently have the three of us, and we all have our own perspectives. We all kind of have different ways that we write.
Right. Sometimes we would start with an idea, like
Yeah.
a theme, and Rubber Meets the Road started with an idea that time kind of gets funny on us sometimes when we're remembering things, and that turned into that song. And then a whole bunch of the other songs, particularly from that last album, started with we had a few characters that we wanted to play out, the Cold-Eyed Man and Border Girl, and and then those turned into songs together that we tried to weave some kind of a story together around these characters.
Nice.
And so those were very different writing experiences than the confessional version of songwriting that you get sometimes, and
Especially in modern, every
Right.
genre, really.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah,
right,
that's
it's pretty common. Yeah. So we've enjoyed that. I think that's helped us to grow, and also you can see when you're putting together the music side of it that I don't have to carry this myself.
yes.
Right, because I'm not a terribly strong solo performer, but I can bring something to the group, and they can elevate it to with background vocals,
Yeah.
and just these other intricate parts that we can build, and I don't know how many of our of songs that I've brought to the table we've ended up with a instrumental interlude, because we didn't quite it couldn't quite carry by itself, but if we add that, then it does. So.
Yes, I love that. And that kind of brings me to instruments you guys use. So I don't remember if it was on your Spotify, Bandcamp, or something, but it said you guys play around with harmonica, accordion, is that right? Guitar,
That made it into one song,
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me about that. Have you guys always known how to play instruments? Did you want to learn how, what are all those instruments? Yeah.
I'm really lucky because I play guitar, and that's about it. I play the harmonica too.
Yeah.
But I just get to stand up there and strum away on my guitar. Where Joe and Steve play between them almost every instrument under the sun.
We dance a little on the stage.
So so I get to just kind of stand up there and be the idiot with the guitar, and they get to show off all of their different things, And then when we did it, the recording, we brought even more stuff in there
Yeah.
that we don't typically do in a live performance, like the accordion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve doesn't bring the accordion usually at the
No.
gig
Bummer.
for that one song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and Steve is he's a former orchestra teacher.
Oh,
And
that's
so
awesome.
he plays everything anyways. He's like, doesn't this song need a cello? Like, why not? How many?
Right.
And he's got 3 in the basement. So, but he mostly plays bass and violin or fiddle with us, but he also plays mandolin, which is one of my main instruments. But
Yes.
he plays it in such a distinct style that it's very different than what I play. And I play banjo and mandolin mostly. We've started playing a little bit of dobro and lap steel. But yeah, so it's that part's entertaining for us, because then we try to figure out, well, what's the best way to play this song, and then I try to find my way through it with the mandolin, and then sometimes I need some other perspective and say, this isn't working, what do I play now? And they're like, you should try this. So that's helpful to have kind of that multi-instrumental.
Other people being like, this does not sound
It's
right.
not working.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so it's, you kind of just play around, and it's all about testing things. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, there's not really a charter that we're following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much a trial and error, and just what moves us. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then you guys kind of talked about this earlier with your songwriting process, but what are some of your biggest inspirations musically wise? And then what do you pull from when you're writing inspiration wise?
Good question. Disparate.
Yeah.
They are disparate. So Steve, he doesn't, he admittedly, and sometimes with shame, but I think it serves him really well. He really does. He says he doesn't listen to music. He's an orchestra teacher, and he has for his whole life, and he's a consummate musician. But he creates chord progressions and melodies out of nowhere, playing for his dogs on his back porch. And I think that comes with a freshness that he's not listening to what's current. Kevin and I listen to music kind of nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're all over the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been jamming to Herbie Hancock lately. That's what was going on this morning in the house. But I think in terms of what makes it into our music, there's not a lot of jazz inflection. But
No.
I think a lot of, for me, growing up in Texas, there's kind of a canon of Texas songwriters, Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark, Billy Joe Shaver.
For sure.
That we really, I pull from. I love the way that they put songs together. There's a simplicity often to what they're doing, but they've managed to add some profundity as well. And then of course there's a whole bunch of contemporary singer-songwriter types that I think are also working in that tradition. But I really think
People we look up to a lot are also in more mainstream, like Paul Simon.
Oh yeah.
We cover a few of his and love his music, and we're kind of all over the board. There's a lot of popular music, a lot of country music, and,
For sure.
Yeah.
a lot of folk music we listen to.
A lot. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then, so you guys said that Steve, right, it was an orchestra teacher, is an orchestra teacher currently?
Was
maybe?
retired.
Okay. So what is kind of your guys' origin in music? I know you grew up in Texas, around a lot of music that you guys play now, but yeah, how did you guys, when did you learn music was a passion of yours and a potential career even?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about potential career, but certainly I grew up playing in church. That's where I first kind of performed or kind of played for other people, playing guitar in a youth group worship band.
Yeah.
Leading campfire songs at camps and stuff like that. And then when I was in my early 20s is when I kind of started to branch out and start writing songs, doing open mics and stuff like that. And all through college, I played pretty regularly as a solo artist. And in high school, I'd been really self-conscious about my voice. And I remember in my early 20s, late teens, hearing Bob Dylan and being like, well, if that guy could sound like that, I can probably sing the way that I sing and get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I started in junior high guitar class up in Casper at NC. There was a teacher there who I don't know how many countless musicians today owe their start to Stan Curlin up there. So he taught me to play guitar in junior high there, and I too also played in some church bands and recovered from that. But played a lot of music, and I started writing some in my 20s and trying to play out, and sometime in my late 20s I moved to Spokane, Washington, and kind of fell in with the bluegrass circle of people there, and I had a mandolin and I had a banjo, but just played them like a guitar.
Yeah.
And so they helped me on my path there towards them and YouTube, lots of YouTube.
Yes.
Learned how to play something akin to bluegrass. I won't say I'm a bluegrass player, but a lot of we like to say we're bluegrass adjacent.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
So I learned how to play with some of those folks, mandolin and banjo, and which is a lot of the instrumentation that I bring. So
Yes. Yeah. It seems like you guys are a good mix of a lot of genres, like a little folksy, a little bluegrassy, but you also said somewhere that the Talking Heads were also a big inspiration for you guys. So that's interesting too. You add a little bit of
we do love the Talking Heads.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome. But yeah, so do you guys feel like, just talking in the future, you think you might expand on some subgenres? What are you thinking of exploring, wanting to explore in the future? Or do you think you'll kind of stick to bluegrass folk, this blend that you have now?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think, already in the stuff we're working on now, as we kind of start to lay the groundwork for our next record, has a really different feel. It's much less bluegrassy. I think it's still very much in the folk Americana kind of vein.
Yeah, but it's leaning more towards some rock blues feels.
Yeah, more
almost.
of rock blues
Nice.
feels. And then Joe mentioned, he's been bringing in lap steel, and so that kind of just gives it sonically a whole different sound. And I think
The first electric instrument introduced to the group.
that's right.
Yeah.
I think that songwriting is kind of there's at least a few of them that fall pretty squarely in like a blues form. Yeah.
Neat. Oh, I like that. Well, do you guys know when are you working on the next record now then, or is there a timeline for that? How long?
We're currently working on it, but it's we had a recording experience in Laramie that was good, but it wasn't quite the creative experience that we wanted.
Totally.
And so we recorded our most recent album, Cold October Stars, in Steve's basement. We bought some equipment and learned a lot and sent it off to somebody professional who could try to make it sound right with some mastering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we really enjoyed that. But it was a long process because of course we weren't paying for studio time, just our own time, and we're all working stiffs.
And you still have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So.
Steve's retired, but he and I are working.
Yeah.
And also, we released that baby, and what was it? We released that baby. We released that CD in August, and September you had a baby, and November I had a second child.
Congrats!
And so we didn't really get to tour that album or push that much. So it's kind of sat on the shelf. We're looking forward to some gigs coming up here to push it a little bit. Yeah. But so the next album we're doing the same thing. We're recording in the basement because we really enjoyed that kind of creative. And also a very inward-looking kind of process, where we could really examine ourselves and our music and together and in a place where we felt comfortable.
For sure.
And so we're hoping to have maybe some singles or releases here at probably early fall, we hope, and then hopefully a full length by maybe late fall. We'll see.
I love that.
We'll see.
Still got a few more songs.
Still got a few more songs to write.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll get some of those songs from the third album you guys put out, or
it's kind of the
first
release.
album, third release. Yes, on Tunes on the Trail, which is coming up
for sure
next weekend, which is exciting. Right. So I'd love to know how you guys navigate live performances since you've started, what you've learned, what you know not to do again, what you, all of the things you've learned, and even from choosing the set list to how that process goes.
We navigate with fear and trembling.
Yeah.
Not really. I think we really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's ever evolving. I mean, I think we mostly we like to play covers. We unfortunately don't end up playing a lot of covers that are very popular, other than maybe the Talking Heads. So, but we try to mix that in with a lot of our original stuff. I think for Tunes on the Trail, we'll probably lean more heavily into our own material, just given I think that's kind of the spirit of that particular series. And we also, our actual setup changes a lot. So for that, I think we'll probably be doing a little bit more acoustic, single mic.
That's what they're hoping
We'll
for,
gather all around, and it'll be a little bit more intimate. We'll be down at Blue Raven later this month, and for that we'll have the full setup and Joe's giant pedal board and
probably a screen behind us.
Oh yeah, we
that's
might do a
something
screen
we've incorporated recently in live performances.
That's awesome.
Which we'll be doing in Fringe Fest more prominently.
Yeah, for sure.
It's up in Casper.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I think a lot of it is trying to read and vibe with the audience and seeing, do we need to keep up a high tempo kind of energetic song? Is this a good time to kind of bring it down and do something a little more maybe introspective, a little bit more quiet?
Yeah, because we have a handful of songs on both sides of that we will put on a set list with a question mark and know, this may or may not fly.
Right.
We'll see. Like one of the most recent albums, Mortal's Benediction, which is a pretty somber note, but it's also very arresting. And if we have people that'll listen to that, or we think they'll, or maybe if they're not listening, and we'll give that a try, or some other songs that are a little more energetic that we want to only pull out on a crowd that'll engage with it. So it's so it can be fluid as well. The one thing that we always have to try to be very cognizant of is just the instrumentation switching. We always try to at least group a few banjo songs and then a few songs where Steve's just playing bass. And
so do you just bring everything and then you decide? Okay.
Yeah, that's always a trivia question for that we ask the audience is how many strings are on stage? And it can be a lot to trip on.
I like that you guys do that though. You read the room, you change on the fly. Does that ever make you nervous, or how do you navigate that?
Early on, I'd say it did. I think now we've been playing together for 5 years, and we kind of know how to do it, and I think we have gotten a lot better at the way we listen to each other. You kind of know how to read the other person, they're where they are musically in terms of like a break or something like that, and so I think that has become just that's one of the best parts of this, of playing with other folks, is you kind of are all in this thing together and you're having that conversation.
There's musically an adrenaline and an enjoyment there that you don't get it playing in the basement.
For sure.
That's, one of the most enjoyable parts for sure is playing for other people, and when you can share that with other people and they can see it and they can engage with that, or we can make them move, or we can make them do something. That's a essential part of the whole thing.
That's awesome. Yes. And then speaking of Tunes on the Trail, I'm curious how they reached out to you guys, and or did you guys reach out to them? How did that?
We reached out to them. There were 2 gigs this summer, that and Fringe Fest that we was it Fringe Fest? Yeah, that we had you essentially applied for, and so they put out a call for musicians, and we filled out the form and tried to sell ourselves as best we could, and they chose us, and we're honored that they would choose us for that. This is their first time doing this Tunes on the Trail idea. And we think it's a cool idea because we all love the outdoors and state parks and the riches we have here in the state in that category, in that realm, and so we're excited to try to pair those two things together. We're gonna bring my little family out, and we're gonna try to camp with our 2 girls, and we'll see how that goes. So we reached out to them. That's how we get most of our gigs, is we reach out and find people. It's not usually an application. It's us.
A phone call. Or
just
phone call
throwing it to the wind. Seeing what you can get.
And we have some places that we've worked with for a few years now, and those are easier.
Well, do you guys have a really memorable anecdote from a specific venue that you've performed at, people that have walked up to you and said things? It can be a silly story too. It doesn't have to be.
Huh.
I'm thinking of the very beginning when we were together, and Joe mentioned, right before COVID, we kind of played a couple shows up in the northeast part of the state. And I hope I'm not conflating multiple things we've done before, but the one that actually is really memorable is driving up, and it's a kind of a snowstorm, and we were playing the VFW in Newcastle.
Yeah.
So you're sliding all over the road trying to get in there. We get in there, and I mean, there was probably 8 people, maybe 10. But they were so engaged with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly one of my favorite shows we've played, even though it was like a tiny little crowd, because it was such a good, like, we were all just there having a good time, and they were listening, and they were
It
really...
wasn't even a paying gig. We
it
earned tips and had and got a few beers.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic because
Yeah.
they danced and they listened and they talked with us, and
Yeah.
when people are willing to, that's something that really changes the aspect of a gig, is if they're willing to talk with us and to ask us questions or to throw out a request or something, because it's us on the mics, and a lot of times it's a one way,
Right.
one way, but when someone engages with us, that changes the complexion of the whole thing, because then it becomes more of a conversation. And I think of a gig we did at the Great Untamed.
In Laramie. Yeah.
And again, really super small crowd, super small space, but they, they were just so engaged and involved. On the flip side, I remember playing a gig at the Roughed Up Duck in Laramie that for some reason all the folks were out.
Yeah.
I don't think it was because of us. I think they happened upon us.
Yeah.
But that place was shoulder to shoulder packed, and we've never, that was a whole new experience for us to play for all these. We're not spring chickens here.
Yeah.
For these for mostly college students that were just jazzed to be out and having a good time, and we just tried to play every high energy song we had, and sweat and play up there, and they loved it, and we loved it, and that was a gig that sticks out in my mind of just seeing all the young college folks out there jamming to some tunes that we played and we'd written.
That's awesome. On that note, everything that we've kind of talked about today, live performing, all of the transitions with music, what is the biggest highlight of this all for you guys, making music together, everything?
I think there's a fairly obvious answer for us, is that the three of us are just really, really good friends. I think we'd hang out together if we didn't have music. Or as long as our wives connected us. we're still dependent on that. But that's something that I think has been a true treasure, and not even set out as part of the thing, but something that because there's bands that you hear breakup stories about bands, and Fleetwood Mac, but whole other story. But I think that's something that I treasure, and I think we all have that we realize is unique to our band and to our process, and something that we are ever grateful for is that we're actually really good friends. And that this is a way we share together, a way that we share our lives, a way that we share how we think about things and how we process things. I don't. I'm probably ruined on being in another band ever again, because that's the. I think that's
the camaraderie you guys
have
here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was our arts and entertainment reporter Taylor Staples speaking with Kevin Ramler and Joe Evans of Bonamo. They'll be performing at Curt Gowdy State Park on Friday, July 18th, beginning at 7 p.m. The Tunes on the Trail series is presented by Wyoming State Parks, the Wyoming Office of Outdoor Recreation, and the Wyoming Arts Council, all under the Wyoming Department of State Parks and Cultural Resources. It is also meant to support local musicians through the Wyoming Independent Music Initiative. The last 2 performances of the program will be in Cody in August and in Mills in September, featuring other local bands. Now, here's Taylor again to bring us a roundup of some events coming up in Cheyenne and Laramie County this week.
This is a trimmed-down version of the events coming up this week. To see the full schedule, visit the calendar at wyomingnews.com. For today, Friday, July 11th, this is the third of 5 days for the Wyoming International Film Festival. Times vary from day to day, so go to wyoif.com for the full schedule. Movies are screening at the Laramie County Community College, at the Surbrugg Prentice Auditorium, the Pathfinder Building, and the Playhouse Building. Then, the 69th Old-Fashioned Melodrama, Chicken Pot Pie, or The Flaky Fowl Fakery, or Your Goose Has Been Cooked is playing today, tomorrow, and Sunday with times at 7 p.m. and a 2 p.m. Sunday matinee at the Historic Atlas Theater. Also, the second Friday Art Walk at Blue Door Arts is today starting at 5 p.m. at the Blue Door Arts at the Hinds. And finally, Fridays on the Plaza will feature Boys Like Girls, an opener public figure this week. The event starts at 6 p.m. at the Cheyenne Depot Plaza. Then on Saturday, July 12th, the day starts with a Will Run for Cannoli 5K at 8 a.m. in Lions Park. Then the 97th Annual Albin Day will take place all day starting at 8 a.m. at various locations in Albin. Then Wyoming Equality is hosting a Rhinestone Rodeo Drag Brunch at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 p.m. at the Office Bar and Grill. And the Wyoming State Museum is hosting Dino Day from 10 a.m. to 2. And later in the night, people can visit the Paramount Ballroom for an Opera on Tap Mood Swings show at 6 p.m., or people can head to the Lions Park Treehouse for a showing of True Troops Antigone at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Antigone will take place at 10 a.m. in the same spot. On Sunday, July 13th, you can head to the Cats and Coffee Connections Cat Cafe for a book club meeting from 4 to 6 p.m. Then on Tuesday, July 15th, there's a Lavender Ink Comics Club meeting from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Cheyenne Creativity Center, as well as a book club meeting for American Covenant from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the library. The day then ends off with a Cheyenne City Band concert at 7 p.m. at the William N. Brimmer Amphitheater in Lions Park. This week's theme is South of the Border. On Wednesday, July 16th, there's another fitness series walking session with Ralph Tamir from 9 to 10 a.m. at the library's Performance Park, as well as a chair yoga and poetry event from 11 to 11:40 a.m. also at the library. Then the library will have a parking lot party from 3 to 7 p.m. Also, the Cheyenne Creativity Center is hosting an open studio from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Lastly, on Thursday, July 17th, there will be a mental health services information session from noon to 1 p.m. at the library, a Yappy Hour at Whispering Chase from 2 to 4 p.m., and another weekend of the 69th Old-Fashioned Melodrama will have shows at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. at the Historic Atlas Theater.
And before we wrap up this week, here's a quick recap of some of our top stories and headlines from the past week. Reed Reisner, a Wyoming businessman with ambitions to purchase TikTok and a former U.S. Senate candidate, filed a defamation lawsuit Wednesday against former Wyoming State Senator Anthony Bouchard. Bouchard has previously made social media posts alleging sexual misconduct by Reisner. In a draft of the complaint Reisner filed in court, he calls these allegations false and argues it has and will continue to cause him personal and economic damage. Out of 24 individuals flagged by the Laramie County Clerk's Office for potential voting violations, 2 were found to have voted illegally last year, according to the Laramie County Sheriff's Office. Both of Cheyenne and both ineligible to vote due to prior felony convictions. They were charged with false voting under Wyoming statute. Members of the Cheyenne City Council's Finance Committee voted Tuesday to accept a nearly $1 million bid for exterior restoration and transportation of 3 railcars to 15th Street. The bids only cover the cost to paint, repair, and transport the cars, as well as treat them for asbestos. And finally, the Wyoming Supreme Court upheld the sentence of Cheyenne man, who was charged with 1 count of theft over $1,000 and 1 count of aggravated burglary with a deadly weapon in 2023. Timothy Duke, one of the 5 co-defendants arrested, is ordered to serve 5 to 8 years in prison and pay $507,000 in restitution along with his co-defendants. That's all for this week's episode of Wyoming Watch, and be sure to check back in next Friday for more as we kick off our coverage of the 129th anniversary of Cheyenne Frontier Days.